Hey guys, Roddy here. Happy Sunday. Welcome back to Speaking360. What are we going to be talking about today then? Well, we're going to be talking about the number one secret for speakers, authors, and experts to make more money with their gifts in today's economy. Even if you're starting from scratch and you don't really feel like you know what you're doing. So the big idea here really is that your story is your superpower. That's the difference. That's the only thing that makes you different from everyone else. Your story is your superpower. This is what makes you unique. Because if you think about it, we're all trying to influence the people that we're speaking to, aren't we? We're trying to influence, and that influence sits on like a foundation. And that foundation needs to be in place if we're going to be successful at influencing. So first of all, we need to connect. We need to build and establish rapport with the audience. Then we need to establish our credibility with the audience. And then we need to share something that's relevant to them. So that foundation has to be there. And this is true no matter who you are and who you're speaking to. If you're a speaker, a trainer, a coach, maybe you're an author, maybe you're an entrepreneur or an expert of some kind, a corporate employee, or maybe you're a job seeker, you're looking for a new job. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you do and whoever you're trying to influence, you're selling you. You really are. You're selling you. You're not selling whatever you think you're selling you. And if you don't have you in your message, this is probably why you're not reaching that first level of the foundation. You're not connecting with your audience. You're not establishing your credibility. And that's probably why you're not getting the results that you want. Many people make this mistake. Most people think that when they're selling a product, their customers are buying a product. But they're really not. When they're selling a product, they may get money for the product, but the customers are buying them. They're buying them. If you're selling something, your customers are buying you. So if you're not getting the results that you want, you're not able to connect, you're not able to influence your audience, you don't have a speaking problem, you've probably got a self-image problem. You're not putting you in the message, or you don't know how to do it. Now, we're not going to kind of dig into your mind in this lesson. We'll come back to that another day. But there's good news. The good news is it's a lot easier than you think. If you follow a process, if you follow a template, if you follow a script or a system, then it's much easier to create your signature story than you think. So the big idea for today really is you can create your story by following these 5 simple steps that I'm going to take you through real quick now. Doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. You can do this. You really can. And if you've got a system to follow, it makes it so much easier. Okay, so you might be thinking, do I really need to share stories? Don't really feel comfortable telling stories. Don't want to tell my story. Seems like showing off. Do I have to do that? Yes, you do. Why? Well, look, we just said you've got to connect with your audience. They've got to feel like they know, like, and trust you. You've got to establish your credibility. You've got to be seen as an expert. And then you need to share something that's relevant. And you can do all 3 of these things simply by what? Simply by sharing what you've learned from experience. What have you lived out? What have you lived out? Those stories can really help you influence your audience. Now, you're probably thinking, yeah, but Roddy, I don't really have a story. Nothing very interesting ever happens to me. I just have an ordinary life. But the truth is, you have all the stories you're ever going to need. But most people just need help with 2 things, just 2 areas that people typically need help. One, they need to learn where to find their stories. They need to dig them out, how to forage for them. And then the second thing is that they then need to learn how to shape them. That's it. You have all the stories you need if you know how to do these things. Now, we'll come back to the story hunt, the finding the stories. Let's just look real quick at the structure of your story. How do you shape your story? Well, here's a real simple structure. 5 steps. My 5-step framework for shaping your story, structuring your story. You start out at the beginning, but as close to the action as possible. So this is where I was. This was normal life for me. Then this is what happened to me. This is the conflict or the drama. This is where something happened that's interesting. Then you managed to overcome it somehow and you learned something. So this is where I was, this is what happened, this is what I learned. Now, if you learned something, think about this. If you've learned something that you're going to be sharing with the audience, then it's something that you consider to be juicy. So you're probably applying it to your own life, and you have been since you learned it. If not, should you really be telling the audience to do this? So we need personal proof in here. This is important not to miss. We need some personal proof in here. And the personal proof is, how has it helped you? How has it helped you? So this is where I was, this is what happened to me, this is what I've learned, this is how I've applied it to my life, and this is the difference it's made. This is personal proof. But then personal proof on its own is not enough, because some people will look at you and think, well, it's all right for you. You're a speaker. You seem very confident, and I'm sure this works for you, but it won't work for me. So it's useful to be able to show how you've helped other people with this as well. Simple, isn't it? Let me give you an example of this in action. So let's just look at the 5 steps again. Step 1, this is where I was before. This is what happened to me. This is what I learned from it. This is how it changed my life. And this is how I've used it to help other people. So 5 simple steps. This week, I went to the dentist, and it ended up being a great experience. But back in 16, nearly, I can't do the maths quick enough, like over 35 years ago, I damaged this tooth and it died, and I ended up having to have a veneer on it and then a crown, and it needed changing like every 10 years. It needed changing, and it was long overdue to be changed again. And I went to the dentist when we got here to America about 4 years ago, something like that. And she said, oh, we can replace that crown for you. And nowadays they have great porcelain crowns, and they're different, and they're strong, and they're thin, and they're environmental. And she told me all about the crowns. And it just seemed like a lot of money. And to be honest, my expectation was it was going to be another ill-fitting crown that I wasn't really going to be that happy with. So I put it off, and then I just thought, I'm not doing it. Maybe I need an implant, or I need something else, but I don't want to, another dodgy crown. Anyway, then a few months back, I cracked the tooth next to it. And so that one snapped in half. And so now I needed to do something, but I didn't, again, I put off going. And after about a month, I went and said, I need something done. And she said, oh, that needs a crown as well. And so we might as well do both of them at the same time. And so I thought, oh, okay. And my expectations weren't high. I kind of half-heartedly tried to find some alternative options, but didn't really. I thought, I'll just do it. I'll get it done, and then it's done. Anyway, it turned out that it was like, she did a great job. I was amazed. And when she said, she's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that. Why didn't you get that done years ago? I know, that's what I feel like now. Why didn't I get it done years ago? Well, the reason I didn't get it done years ago is because she didn't really sell me on the transformation that was going to happen when it was done. She told me all about what the crown was made of and how she would do it, but she didn't tell me how I would feel and the difference it would make afterwards. If she had, I would have done it 4 years ago. It was a no-brainer. If you don't have that, and it's just a service description, it seems expensive. But if you have the transformation, then it's a no-brainer. So thinking about this, she's actually, she did me a disservice for 4 years by not selling me on that end result, the transformation, what it would do for me. Is a big, big impact. So if she'd sold me on that, I would have done it. Because she didn't, she did me a disservice. And so thinking about it like that has really made me once again feel even more comfortable with selling products and services that I believe in. Because to not do that is a disservice. See, if she had sold me on the emotional appeal of the future promise, if she said, this is going to transform your life, and then it was a substandard product, that wouldn't be ethical, would it? That would be something different. But to not sell me on it, and then it did work out way better than I thought, and I'm delighted with the end result, she did me a disservice. So to see selling like that, it's a service to help people and a disservice not to. Changes everything, really, doesn't it? And so that's changed my approach and helped me change the approach of other people. So a simple story, but you can see how putting it into this structure. Step 1, I had an old crown on my front tooth. That's where I was. What happened? I cracked the tooth next to it, eating chocolate out the fridge. Step 3, what did I learn from this? I realized that I should have done it years ago, but I didn't, because she told me about what a crown is instead of what a crown does, the transformation over the features. Step 4, I now feel even more comfortable selling as I realize it's a service, and it truly is a disservice not to help people understand the benefit of your product. And step 5, I can help other people feel more comfortable selling as well, having kind of realized this over again. Make sense? So 5 simple steps. Keep that in mind. People don't buy what a product or a service is. This is actually a great point, although I'm using it as illustrative purposes for the story. It's actually a great point. They buy what it does. They buy the transformation. They buy the transformation. So it's the emotional appeal of a future promise. The emotional appeal of a future promise. When you get this, this is how you're going to feel. Oh, I want that. I'm drawn to that. So it's not facts and logic. No, it's emotions. So you can use your story, put your story into your message, and you're going to have significantly better results. And you do have all the stories you need, but just keep in mind, we're looking for the best ones. We're looking for the ones that are interesting. We're looking for the ones that are impactful. We're looking for the ones that are insightful. So you've got all of these stories, some of them as dull as can be. We're not using those. Some of them are average, and some of them, maybe 10% of them or 5% of them or 1% of them. It doesn't matter. You've got so many experiences. This percentage can be tiny, but some of them will be really useful. They will help you connect with your audience, help you establish your credibility, and help you influence your audience. Okay, so if that's been helpful to you, I'm going to show you a quick video in a second, but let me just say, if that's been helpful to you, please share the link, share the love, speaking360.com. Videos go out every Sunday, so share the link. That would be very much appreciated. And you may remember that last week I talked to you a little bit about axe throwing and going with the family. Last Sunday we went for Father's Day. I got a little video that I thought I'd share with you real quick so you can see just how much fun it is and decide whether or not it's something that you want to do. Watch this for the family. Axe
Do you think their shots are good, Lily?
Yeah.
It's not that video. Woohoo! What did you just do?
Nothing. Oh, you're doing it, Daddy!
You did it, Dad. Love it. Thanks for being a part of Speaking 360, guys. I'll see you next Sunday if I don't see you before. Take care. Bye-bye. God bless.